If you're wondering how I get things done, since over the last couple of years I have managed running a small business while finishing a PhD and also doing content creation part-time, but also doing lots of different projects, from producing a short film to producing a theatre production to just maintaining personal care and well-being in this time, then this is the video for you, because I'm going to be sharing how I plan for the next quarter, or how I plan for the next 12 weeks, using a couple of different methods, including Getting Things Done, Atomic Habits, and the 12-week year. When it comes to planning for a new quarter or a new 12-week cycle, one of the most important things that I do is I review a specific list that is called the Areas of Focus list. If you don't have one of these, that is totally okay. Now is the time to think about it. It's a list that tracks all of your current areas of focus or areas of responsibility. This is something that I think most people don't have a handle on. You don't really have a list somewhere that tracks all of the different things in your life that you're responsible. And that's not just work related, but also including the personal commitments that you have. It's going to be, for most people, quite a long list, but it's really important that you are thinking about this, especially when we come into goal setting for a new period. One of the biggest mistakes that I think people make with goal setting is they don't keep in mind their current commitments when making goals. And so inevitably, when these commitments that we already have come in the way of our goals, we'll start to kind of feel like we haven't really done a lot of good work towards goals. And it's really about being realistic. Can I achieve this, or do I have time to do this new thing? Keeping in mind the commitments that I already have. And this is definitely a mistake that I've made in the past, but I think now I've got a better handle on being aware of what my current commitments are and seeing, are there areas that I already have within my commitments that need more work before I can maybe move on to like the pretty shiny things that I might want to work on eventually. I would really encourage you to take some time to figure out what your areas of focus are. I have my areas of focus into 4 different categories, broadly speaking, and then there's a lot of sub areas of focus within those. So the 4 that I have are the business that I run, which is a small business focusing on delivering speech and drama education to children, teenagers, and adults. I have also then a category called Other Work, which incorporates my research work, any teaching work that I'm doing, lecturing, things like that, and then also my YouTube work. These could maybe be all separate and I could have subcategories if I wanted to, but this is the way I'm doing it at the moment. And then I also have personal as a general area of focus, and again I have sub areas within that, and then I have relationships and pets as my final broad area of focus. I find in terms of planning for a new quarter, a new term, a new 12-week year cycle, if that's something that you're following, taking a look at these different areas of focus and then thinking about, what do I want this next 12 weeks to look like, or is there something that I need to complete in the next 12 weeks? And this will generally start to spark your ideas of any kind of habits that you might want to be taking into this next period, or any projects that need to be completed in this next period. So I'm going to be talking you through all of the different habits and projects that I've thought about for the next couple of months within each area of focus that I have at the moment. The business ones first of all. Staff training is an area of focus that I have within the business. I have a project that I would like to complete, which is to deliver individual feedback to all of our staff. So that's a project because there's going to be a lot of tasks that go into this individual project. I need to attend classes for each of the teachers to make sure that I have enough to be giving feedback on. I need to write down some notes on feedback because it's not something that I personally can go into a meeting and just provide feedback. I would need to definitely have some notes and to make sure that I'm tracking as well things that I've said to people, so that, you know, in a couple of months we can review how people are doing, see if that has improved or not. I want to work on our employee handbook as well, because it's not something that we have a really specific document in good working order, and also within that to have teaching resources and teaching videos. So these are projects that I would want to complete in line with the above. Now, some of these I may not get to this particular quarter. I think the most important thing this quarter will be the individual feedback, And I think the other 3 projects that I've thought of, they might end up going to next quarter because it's not something I can imagine myself having a huge amount of time for this quarter. Things might be quite different once we finish up the main academic year. In terms of the trust that we work with, I'm waiting on a financial plan approval, but for that to be approved, I need to provide updated projections. So that is a project where I need to develop the projections and then also provide them, and then we need to arrange a meeting and so on and so forth. And then in terms of a habit, I would like to start having a quarterly or monthly meeting with the trust. So that's something that I need to be thinking about. In terms of quality assurance, I have a habit which is to attend classes every other week or every 3 weeks, depending on the class. And then a project will be to eventually gather feedback from the customers that we have. So getting client feedback. And this is, different to the staff feedback. In terms of venues and classes, which is another area of focus I have, I might have areas of focus within those or projects within those. So we have a couple of classes that have been underperforming. So they might be specific areas of focus that I have where I want to look into that a bit more. And then eventually when there's kind of a solution that I have in mind, which might be cancelling certain classes or it might be promoting certain classes, then there'll be a project for those. So as it stands at the moment, one of those I'm looking into promoting those classes, the other one I'm looking into eventually closing those classes. Another project that I'm considering is scheduling for next term. So that's it for venues and classes. In terms of events, we have 3 major events coming up in this 12-week cycle. We have our speech and drama exams. And again, this is an area where in the past I might have maybe made a bit of a mistake when it comes to project planning, because I would create a project called exams and there'd be all of these sub-projects that happen within those, and it just means it's not that clean. Whereas now I'm a bit more aware that exams as an area of focus has the project of exam enrollment and then exam scheduling and then exam results delivery. We also have a FESH final coming up, so 2 projects within that will be the finals, like getting prepped for those, and then also delivering feedback to those who didn't make it to the finals. We have our own FESH coming up as well, which I have to schedule, which is one project. I have to work on the enrollment for that, getting planning materials together for it, and those are the main projects, because once that's all done, then we're ready to go. And then we also want to arrange a theatre trip for our teens at some point. So those are projects related to events as an area of focus. Within financials then, I just have habits at the moment, monthly to upload receipts, follow up on payments, review payments, and then check in on our online accounting software, and then to complete payroll. So it's just to kind of remind myself about each of these on a monthly basis. In terms of our office space, we have a project of getting the books from one location to another. We currently have a large amount of books and notes being stored in another location, but they won't be able to be moved for a couple of months. So the task that I would have before that is to just make sure that the shelving that we have is safely adhered to the walls. We have some shredding and clearing out to do in one of our offices, so that is a project. And then the office of that side of the building also just needs a good clean. So I probably will get a professional cleaner in, which means there's a bit of research and development needed, and then eventually getting that sorted. We have desks in the office that need building. Our storage room needs to be cleared out. And then eventually I'd like to do some decorating of the office as well. So these are different projects that I'm thinking about for the next 12 weeks with regards to our office space. In terms of our current academic term that we're in, I have a project for getting all the enrollment information sent to people, ensuring that staffing is in place, which is actually already sorted. And then habits, we want to be doing our weekly staff meeting, weekly class planning, and then a separate task is to create a new spreadsheet for this coming term. And then social media is an area of focus that I have with the business that's a little bit special, because everything else that's here more or less is just going to happen. But social media is one that I need to kind of try a little bit harder if I want to make it happen. And same thing for staff training, like for the teaching and resources and teaching videos, that's not going to happen by itself. Everything else kind of just has to happen. So it will happen. But it's important for me to be aware of all of these when I'm thinking about, okay, am I realistically going to be having time to work on these extra things that I want to do? And if I don't, you know, how can I plan for that? So that's an example of how I do this for the business. The kind of next stage of this planning process is to take each of these projects that I've talked about and to do some project planning for those, which means coming up with a list of tasks that I have for each of these projects. So for exam enrollment, as an example project, for each grade level that we have, I'll need to prepare an email to anyone that's matching that grade level. Well, first things first, I'll need to create a final spreadsheet with who we recommend for each grade. And then I'll need to create an email that has the information required for each grade, which subtask, I probably need to make sure that I have any additional materials that I'll need for that. I'll then need to send that to each level of customer that we recommend. How I'm going to do that, I haven't really thought about yet this year, because sometimes I'll just send a bulk email to the different grades, but this can be a bit confusing for certain parents when there are siblings involved. And then, yeah, I'll need to have a spreadsheet that kind of tracks people who've gotten in touch to confirm that they want to be enrolled for a different grade, and then also to track payments for that as well. I also need to figure out what the best method is to arrange payments for, because some of the payment options that we have are quite costly. And then, yeah, like I suppose following up with parents who haven't gotten in touch, and then confirming with parents who has been enrolled basically, and then confirming with staff who has been enrolled. So like those are some tasks that are just coming to mind from this individual project. But the idea is that I will go through each of these projects and try and come up with a list of tasks that need to be done for each of these. So given that there was quite a large number of projects talked about just in this specific area of business, there's going to be a lot of tasks that need to be done as well. So it's usually like quite a long process of going through each of the projects, thinking about any tasks, maybe any additional habits that need to be thought about as well. As you can see, there's a lot, but what I do at this point is I take a look at all of these, I put some stars beside stuff that is more like something I would need to work a bit harder if I wanted to achieve that. So the things that I've put that on are Jack, just because it's his birthday this month, so I just kind of want to have that a bit more front of mind. I have joy and creativity in terms of personal goals. I have brand consistency in terms of other work. And then I have staff training and social media in terms of the business. Because again, everything else will kind of happen. If I'm wanting to kind of create goals, it's around these things, because the other stuff is stuff that's going to be happening already in terms of projects and actions. The next thing that's quite important to think about is the idea of your routine for the next several weeks and thinking about your schedule week to week. So you might not have a consistent weekly schedule. That is okay. So if not, then you're going to want to be thinking about each week and thinking about when you have time. I would say I have a loosely similar weekly schedule and a loosely similar daily schedule most days. So I'm kind of more readily able to do that, but then I have some notes beside each day where there's specific dates where things are going to be different. So for example, I want to go and visit the venues every 2 or 3 weeks. So I've put down dates where I'm going to do that, which means I won't have my usual schedule that day. There'll be a slight change in the afternoon, for example. When it comes to the habits that I have, I try and group these together into different times of day or days of the week. I have habits that I might want to do every day, and I know I'm most consistent with that stuff in the morning. So I have my morning routine, which encompasses daily journaling, daily meditation. Some things that I've slipped on recently that I think are really important for maintaining happiness is the daily gratitude and daily highlights. I haven't been doing those in recent weeks, and I've definitely been feeling like my joy is not as high. So that's something to just be more mindful for me of in this kind of morning schedule. It's the time of day where I exercise. It's the time of day where I will often be doing that kind of housework stuff. So I kind of have this morning routine from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. most days. It might be a little bit earlier on some days, where I get all of this morning stuff done, and this covers a lot of the kind of personal care, personal tasks that I might need to do. Separately, there might be specific habits that happen on certain days of the week. So for example, when I'm going for yoga with my sister, that's typically on a Monday night. When we're doing our staff meeting, that's typically a Thursday afternoon. When it comes to stuff that I want to do on a weekly basis, thinking about habits that can be brought together easily into one day is usually quite helpful for me. So I have a couple of things around like planning social activities or meeting up with friends, or that's kind of like an organization task that's really required there, to get in touch with someone and see if they want to hang out, or dinner with my family, calling my dad, those kind of things. For me, it makes sense to kind of try and put them together for a day where I'm pretty free, which is Sunday. Anything else, again, it's just about thinking, is there a specific time that this needs to happen in the week, or is it a bit flexible? And putting together these habits all on top of each other is derived from this book that's very famous called Atomic Habits, and it's the idea of habit stacking, which helps us to maintain good habits when we're kind of putting them all together and we end up creating these nice routines. In terms of the rest of the time, which tends to be, we might have certain things that come up that we have specific appointments for, but other than that, a lot of our time is pretty free. So it's about thinking, when is the work going to happen that I would like to do? So if I'm thinking about trying to be more consistent with my YouTube, when am I realistically going to do that? Because I already have a lot of work to be thinking about with regards to all of the different projects I have for the business, as well as the different projects that I have for my research. So what I end up doing is putting together a schedule that has a loose approximation for how much time each day I will spend with each of the different kind of work tasks that I have. So on Mondays, I typically do a huge amount of admin. So most of the work day from 10 to 4 is admin. But that does leave a couple of hours free after all of that's been happening, where I think I would like to spend some time working on social media. So there's usually maybe 2 hours where I could be doing some social media work as well. On Tuesdays, I will typically split the day between some larger projects that I have going on in the business, because a lot of the kind of smaller admin tasks will have been done. And then I also have some time for research. I typically do the same thing on Wednesdays, but I will usually finish work a little bit earlier. So there'll be a little bit less time for administrative duties on that day, because in the evening I will be teaching my own classes. On Thursdays, we have our staff meeting, and often I'll be visiting the venues in the afternoon or just doing some general admin. So again, morning time kind of goes for research, afternoon time goes for admin. I also have a counselling appointment on Thursday mornings, and because that's pretty near my family home, it seems like a good time for me to go to my family home and hang out with my mom, see my dog, go for a walk with her, maybe do some driving. That's something that I'm still not quite sure where that's going to fit into the grand scheme of things. Ideally, I will have my research work for each week kind of sorted by that point, and I'm hoping that, again, a large portion of the admin work will be done. So I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to spend Friday mornings from now on doing some YouTube work, and then the afternoon time for some of the weeks coming up over the next 12 weeks, I'll be at a wedding, I'll be at, doing something for my boyfriend's birthday. On the other weeks, I'll be visiting venues. Saturdays, pretty much I'm at the business all day. I'd like to start going for a run on Saturday mornings to kind of get some of my anxiety out, and just to kind of balance out the week in terms of exercise. There is a good couple of weeks where I'm going to be missing out of action for different reasons. And then Sundays is usually the day that's for myself. So I'm trying recently to kind of fit my housework duties into the different mornings that I have, but I like to also give some time on Sundays in case I don't get that stuff done. So I do my normal morning stuff, I go to the gym, I get my groceries, I do some housework and some YouTube work as well. And that is pretty much how my general week is going to be for the next several weeks, but also keeping in mind there's certain weeks where things are going to be a bit different, and it's just a choice about whether I want to really push super hard during those weeks in terms of trying to get more content done, or if I'll just give myself some grace, you know, because I don't want to be stressing myself out that much. So that is how I plan for a new quarter or a new 12-week cycle. I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this gave you some insight into all of the kind of work that I do in a several month cycle, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to take you along with that work over the next couple of months as I get into it more and more. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.